on the one that we just did for my child, who is now.
We did that one in 2011, and we did this one in 2025, 2024, 2025.
Right.
Yes.
So he's just finished his freshman year. So this is a fairly brand new one. I do have a printed and bound copy, but we submitted it digitally to everyone. So this one starts with a table of contents, so that if somebody is flipping through, they know exactly where to go to find it.
Oh, I always do a table of contents.
Okay.
And that's how I force them to look at the most impressive things first. I put them in the order I want, and then I do the table of contents.
All right, so this one, well, actually, so I take that back. The first thing that actually has is a cover page. And that's gonna have the student's name, their address, their phone number, and if they have, and like an email. If they have a website, that might be a good place to put that, because some kids are going to have their own website. So that's the first thing on there is your cover page. The next is going to be your table of contents, and this portfolio wound up being 95 pages long.
And here's a table of contents for this guy. No,
that's a transcript. What's on the other side of the resume? No, flip.
But I also have the page numbers in it.
Oh, you included page numbers on the transcript on that one.
I did.
So there are variables. Not everything has to be done strictly formulaically, but you do want them to be able to look at the portfolio, find what they need when they need to find it, especially if you're sending them 90 or 100 pages. Though also that might be a little excessive and you don't necessarily.
100 pages was common in 2011. Now I'd say 30 is reasonable, because the way we have it mapped out, you could end up with 100 pages. But once you put it together, you can say, okay, I can condense this, I can condense that.
Right.
And do like 40 or 50 pages. What's most important is the right samples for certain things, and for the person viewing it to know what textbooks you use or how many hours were spent in a certain discipline. Right. Or things of that nature.
So the first thing that comes after table of contents is the transcript. This format you're going to see is organized by subject. When there are some schools that are going to prefer a more traditional layout to the transcript where you're listing it by grade. And so if you go back, and we've already discussed this with the creating a transcript and using a transcript template, that one is sorted by grade because that one is more common. But this one is, actually, I feel like we sent them a separate transcript that wasn't in the portfolio that was organized by grade.
Okay.
So you've got your transcript in there. And then the next thing that you're going to see is, let's see, I paused it.
I can't see anything.
This is, so it's a multi-page transcript. A transcript is at least 2 pages long.
Because of the depth and breadth of his experience.
That one is also 2 pages long.
This is 2 pages long.
Yep. So in that one, you put the resume before the transcript.
Well, why would I have done that though?
Because that one's resume is impressive.
Right.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Right.
This actually wound up being, I think, like 4 pages of a transcript. But the resume then was next.
Right.
And
what's the most impressive? His transcript.
And no, we put 3 resumes in this portfolio because the first one is his professional acting resume, and that was very impressive.
Yes.
And then we put the second one is just a generic working resume, and then he has a resume for service and community involvement, because that's something he did an enormous amount of, volunteer hours and things like that. And then we front loaded his with language arts.
Right.
Because
his writing sample was amazing. So first thing you should see is his writing sample.
It's his writing sample. So in each one, there's a section that talks about what was covered. There was the writing sample for it. Then we did a snapshot of his grammar. And then we've got world literature, advanced composition. Advanced composition includes another writing sample.
And so when we say a snapshot of his grammar, we're generally talking about him going on Khan Academy and taking the grammar course, and it just gives you like a 1-page snapshot of his mastery.
Actually interesting, because over the 4 or 5 years that the information that these classes were taken and were done, the way that Khan Academy reported a class changed. And so what you see in the videos, you see that grammar page, and it's just mastery of certain things with percentages. What you're going to see when we get to math in just a minute is pretty little squares that show pretty little colors and fun things like that, because that's the new way that Khan Academy was showing it later. And so you may have kind of some differences like that. And we chose not to go back and pull that grammar because the course for grammar had changed. So even though it was still his login, whereas he had a passing grade, like it was a solid B or something, it was enough that he was content with it. From the first time he took it and emailed that to me, by the time we went to pull everything else, they had reworked the whole thing. And so it said that his course mastery was like 68.
Because they changed the
Because
course.
they had changed it and they had included new things with it. And so I went and pulled the old curriculum because that was the course that he had taken. So that's one of the reasons that your record keeping is super important.
Don't wait.
As you are going through, go ahead and at least every year pull the documentation that you need, because a platform can go away. A platform can change how they do things. And so you may not be able to easily recreate that stuff if you're not capturing it as you go.
Because some of the more popular programs, I've seen people say, my child's grades are going and my child's grade is dropped because they updated the curriculum, taking out some things that they may have scored well in and then adding in some things that they hadn't touched.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's more writing samples, and then we're going to get to a class that he actually took through, well, our program, so but an outside program. It wasn't just that he was working with me. So you see the page from the script writing class. And so that layout of the page from the script writing class is literally the format that was sent from our organization, because we write it up for that to be in the portfolio. And then you see a speech and debate, and in there is a debate case that he wrote. So that's more writing sample with his speech and debate. And then we've got a modern world history. Again, you'll see that form that comes from an outside group. And then pre-modern world history, same thing. So you're getting some of this feel, and medieval world history, and ancient world history. So you had all of that from an outside organization, so you get that variance. And then there's American history, because he did all of those through our program. Also the government class. And so as you look at those different layouts, they include the same information that you would include: personal finance, entrepreneurship. And then we get to pre-algebra. So math, you're going to see a bunch of different things in this portfolio. The pre-algebra was a website learning program that we were being asked to test.
I remember that.
And so we're like, here, go do this. And he did that, so he got a credit for it. Algebra 1 was through the same system. Then geometry.
He did those relatively quick.
He did those relatively
Because we only had
quickly.
that for a couple months.
Right. I would say it was 90 days that we had it. So here we're seeing geometry. He did the geometry like through a few different things, and then just by the time he got back around to it, he just wanted to take a final. And so I found a final. Because I found a final on a weird random website, I included their little graphic for how he did on that final, but then I actually screenshot every single question and what his answers were as supporting documentation for that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a well-known site. Something like a Khan Academy, you can expect that your admissions officers,
There are just some things that have been accepted as a general standard.
Right.
And so when you go off of that general standard, you need to show. When in my kids' portfolios, and my daughter's is on this table, for math, I think we took the test and included the final exams in the portfolio.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like with accreditation. When you have an accrediting agency, the person looking at it says, okay, I know that this course title means all of these things because this agency tells me that this course title means all of these things. Khan Academy is widely used enough that people know, okay, Khan Academy means these things. So you don't have to have that same kind of documentation that we did there for the geometry test. Then Algebra 2, we did on Khan Academy. And so you see that each section there, I just copied just like the table of contents for a book. Mm-hmm. And so here's everything that he learned. And then there's that beautiful screenshot.
That's done very well.
Right?
Really
Isn't that
image.
Pretty?
Yeah.
And then the same thing for statistics because he needed another advanced math. Mm-hmm. And so we did the exact same thing through statistics. These are the things he learned. Here's the screenshot of his progress. Did the same thing for AP Environmental Science, which was also in Khan Academy. Mm-hmm. So those were super straightforward. It was just a question of copy and paste what was covered. His biology class was kind of not necessarily a standard textbook. It's standard in homeschooling, but not necessarily widely accepted. So I have a screenshot of each of the pages of the table of contents in there. And then his lab sheets, because if you're doing a lab, you want to put some proof of lab work in there. And so there's like dissecting a sheep heart and a worm and some of the other things like that. So we have all of the lab sheets for biology. And then what was next?
You typically need 3 or 4 good lab sheets per
Yeah, I think I
lab
probably
science.
put too many in here for this.
That's fine.
Because I think biology, he's got like 6 or 7 different labs. But that's what they did, so I put it in there. Mm-hmm. He took a classical physics, so the next couple of classes are classes that he took on what used to be called Great Courses Plus. It's now Wondrium. Yes. So same deal. Copied through the table of contents of all of the videos that he watched, the coursework that I had him turn in, and same with oceanography. There's course guides for those that are PDFs, so they have questions in there. I made him answer those. I didn't include his answers in here. Didn't really feel that was super necessary because this is further down in the portfolio and it was a thing he did. So with the oceanography one, we went to Heron Island and went scuba diving. And he has a whole field report from Heron Island. And I included one page of it, which was actually a picture of him. And he's identifying himself as a human scuba diver. What was this one after the oceanography? Chemistry. So the table of contents for the chemistry books, literally a photo of the table of contents. And then the stuff that he went through with that. And then there's some lab sheets that go with the chemistry because that was also lab. And then for German, so he actually wound up getting credit for German 1 through 3. He had started learning German when he was very small. And so he already kind of knew the language. I made him continue to practice it using Duolingo. And then he had a habit of arguing with me in German because he knew that it would slow me down. And so, because I would insist on speaking German back to him and I don't remember it well enough to actually argue with somebody. So that's largely how he did his conversation partner stuff. But for European languages,
that's wild.
Every European country has a standard for their language that indicates levels of fluency. Because for business and for government, European countries, you have to have some metric that, measure how well you know that language. So anybody that's doing Spanish, French, German, there should be there should be a website that has literally the standard for European, testing. And so in German, the website was Deutsche Welle. And so he went and took the placement tests for A1, A2, and B1 and scored, I forget what it was on A1, but A2 was 93% and B1 was 96%. And so if he can get through 3 levels of fluency, that was wound up being a German 1, 2, and 3 for him. So there's not documentation in here for his electives. If somebody does not have 100 pages of core material, then you would also potentially include elective pages in there. All of his electives were listed on his transcript, which you saw back at the beginning of us scrolling through everything. And so, you know,
Right.
he has an enormous number of those.
Back in the day, there would be a page or a line item for every single elective in the portfolio.
Right.
But the colleges get it now.
Right. Not only do they get it, but honestly, they are more interested in the academics as far as a college readiness thing. They want to know that the electives are there because that tells you who the person is.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the importance of the electives.
They're interested in the SAT score. And those grades that you put in the portfolio match the SAT score. And then they look at the electives to figure out who you are and to see what your follow through is.
Right.
Because if you just bounce around randomly, just throw any elective at the wall, no, they want to see a journey through the electives, that you found something and linked
so that's
into it.
the acting resume at the beginning.
Yes.
It lists all of the different things because it's a resume. So not only here are the projects that we've worked on, but here are the skills that he would have as the actor, which goes through and itemizes his stage combat, which is specifically something that he specialized in. So all of that is still in there. It's just not necessarily broken out the way that it was in the first portfolio that we looked at. So there are a number of right ways to do this. Not all portfolios are going to look the same. The most important thing that you need to do is make sure that you're highlighting your students' strengths and that the information you're presenting is easy to understand, easy to consume, and easy to find.